Steep hill climb tests. I am accelerating. What? 51, 52. Oh, we gotta slow down. Ladies and gentlemen, it is Alex from Maximum Charge. Welcome back to the channel. And if you are new here, welcome. Today we are on an insanely epic e-bike, if you can call it that, from Goat Power Bikes, the Mini Goat. And I've actually had this bike for a few months now, but Goat has sent out some enhanced, updated controllers and motors to make sure this bike is bulletproof. And now it seems to have even more power and even more torque than ever before. And this bike is truly special in a few different ways. Number one, it has a giant direct drive motor, which is being pushed by a massive 57 amp controller and a giant 72 volt battery, which actually comes in a few different battery configurations. You can get 30 amp hours, 40 or 50 amp hours, and you can even throw an additional 20 amp hour tank battery on top of the bike, giving this bike a little mini motorcycle appearance. The whole bike is low to the ground. The seating position is on the lower side, so if you are a smaller rider, you will have a great time with this bike. You also get fully adjustable dual suspension, turn signals, full twist throttle. Oh, and it even has pedals. And today we're going to be bringing the Mini Goat through all the usual tests. The 0 to 20 test, the hill climb test, the steep hill climb test, the top speed test, maybe even a mini off-road test for the Mini Goat. And after watching this video, you will know for sure if this is the right bike for you. Prices of these e-bikes are always fluctuating, so to get the most up-to-date price, check the link in the description below, or just scan the QR code on your screen, which will bring you straight to the Goat Power Bikes website. And using my code MAX10 will save you just about $150. If you go ahead and look around at some of the other options on the market, you will quickly come to realize just how much value this bike brings. So the first thing we're going to do today is check out the speedometer accuracy. So currently my GPS says 18 and the bike says 20. And you can make the speedometer more or less accurate by adjusting the wheel size. So currently it's set to 20.5. We're going to go ahead and bring the wheel size down in the display to try and make it more accurate when compared to the GPS speedometer. So let's bring the wheel size down to 18.5. Looks like we are right on the money, or pretty darn close. And today we're going to be using a draggy to get the 0 to 20 time on this bike. Draggies are commonly used for automotive enthusiasts who like to measure quarter mile times, 0 to 60 times. Obviously most e-bikes out there do not go 0 to 60, but I can make a custom setting in here to give you guys a good 0 to 20 time, and the frequency at which the draggy talks to the GPS satellites up above is much higher than what your phone does. And I've even seen some displays on e-bikes take some time and lag as to how fast the bike is actually going versus what speed is being shown. So the draggy will give us the most accurate, fastest and reliable 0 to 20 time for these tests. And I do have the starting strength setting in this bike set to 5, which is going to give us the fastest possible acceleration. Here we go, 0 to 20 test, 3, 2, 1, boom. 20. Looks like we got 4.12 seconds. And just so you guys can see the difference in starting strength, let's do that again at a starting strength of 1 and then a starting strength of 3. Because you can tune this bike to be as manageable as you want it to be. Right now I have 3 levels of pedal assist. You can make that all the way up to 9 if you want. Guys, stay tuned for the rest of today's review. I will be going into the advanced display settings later in the specs and components section of this video. All right, here we go. 0 to 20, throttle only, starting strength at 0. Ready, go. Wow, that is slow. That is so slow. There it is. We got 5.2 seconds. Oh, the starting strength is so slow. That is way too slow. But hey, if that's what you want, you've got the option to do that. Let's set the start strength to 3. 3, 2, 1, go. All right, that's more like it. All right, 4.29. I'm comfortable with a starting strength level of 5, so that's where we're gonna keep it for today's ride. That will use up the most battery, but thankfully I have 70 amp hours of 72 volt battery. That is 5 kilowatt hours of battery, which is absolutely mind-blowing for an e-bike. I cannot wait to do the range test on this bike at full blast, full throttle. Let's bring the start strength back to an appropriate setting, AKA the highest setting. Moving on to our long hill climb test. Something tells me this bike is going to obliterate this test. Here we go. Without further ado, long hill climb test, throttle only. 3, 2, 1, boom. All right. 20. We are flying. Normally I talk while I do this test. I won't even have time to do my spiel going up this hill. We're at 30. And we were almost at 35 when we crossed the line. Let's check the free spinning wheel top speed. There we go. Okay. Looks like we went all the way up to like 80 something. That's insane. So you will obviously not get to 80 something miles an hour in this bike, but at least you know when you go downhill, you can, in theory, hit 80 something miles an hour. In fact, you can hit 120 miles an hour if you really wanted to. Downhill speed test. Look at that, guys. We almost hit 50 going down that hill. Quick and dirty suspension test on the sidewalk. Suspension is working very nicely. The adjustable shock in the back, and I do feel the front fork working phenomenally as well. Let's drop off this curb, see how it feels. Oh yeah, the rear suspension is very, very good, guys. Oh yeah, this this thing might be a little off-roader with the right tires. There it is. All right, handlebar width test, not too narrow, not too wide, just right. Turning radius test, not all that great, as you guys can tell. Due to the frame design, you are not gonna have all that much steering, which is gonna be fine while riding this bike. However, if you're gonna be maneuvering this bike in a tight space, it is gonna be a little bit troublesome, especially with the rear rack attached in the back, like I have. We have arrived at our steep hill climb test. We got our GPS speedometer out. 3, 2, 1, go. Turn the corner and up we go, throttle only. All right, I am accelerating. What? We're accelerating, guys. Wow, so we held 17 miles an hour during the steepest part. That is very good, guys. Let's move on to our brake test. So what we'll do is get to 20 and use these lines to measure how much distance it takes to stop this bike from 20 miles an hour. Ready and brake. All right. So we started there, went through one spot, and we stopped just at the end of the second spot. So braking on this bike is satisfactory. I'm always happy if a bike can stop in at least 2 spots. If a bike stops closer to the beginning of the second spot, that is a better score, but this is still satisfactory. We are within 2 parking spots, and this bike does have very, very good brakes. These are giant quad piston calipers. The front has a 180 millimeter rotor. The back has a 203 millimeter rotor, and you might think, why does the back have a bigger rotor than the front? Well, since this bike has a direct drive motor, which is typically heavier than a geared hub motor, there is a lot of rotating mass in the rear wheel. So giving the brake caliper the leverage of a larger rotor to stop that rotating mass is going to be very helpful for stopping this large e-bike. And yes, I did say large e-bike. Even though this is called a mini goat, this bike is very heavy, especially with how much battery I currently have on it. I'll leave the exact number on the screen So that weight plus a rider and cargo means you're gonna need some good brakes, and the brakes on this bike are pretty good. Let's head down this hill to our top speed testing site. The handling on this bike is so good from the perspective of center of gravity. All the weight is in the middle and at the bottom. That combined with the smaller wheel size means the handling on this bike will be some of the best you've ever experienced on an e-bike. At least when it comes to cornering on the roads. You feel so planted on this bike. It's ridiculous. I really feel like I can just rip around on the streets on this bike. And that is something that I did do with Matt from Tail Happy TV and Tim from Shoot the Chit. We did rip around downtown LA on goat e-bikes. I was on this mini goat. I'll get that video out someday. Could be next week, could be next month, could be next year. Who knows? I guess you'll just have to stay tuned to find out. And we have arrived at our top speed testing site. We're not going to pedal up to speed for two reasons. Number one, this bike has tiny little pedals, so pedaling with this thing is kind of, some might say, a joke, but they are there. They are functional pedals, which will help for legal reasons. And number two, having almost 5,000 watts of power on the display, I don't think we're gonna need the extra leg power to get up to speed. Here we go, without further ado, 3, 2, 1, go. All right, 25, we're at 30, tuck down, 37, 40, 42, 43, 45, 46. All right, got a brake to make sure I don't smash into the car. Let's turn around and see what we get going the other way. Here we go. All right, 40 miles an hour, 42, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48. All right, so we got 46 going one way, 48 going the other way. Average of those two is 47 miles per hour. Some have reported hitting 50 miles an hour on this bike. However, I am limited to the top speed testing site runway, so we'll call it 47 miles an hour. Official maximum charge rating. And indeed, we are very, very close to a maximum charge because the voltage is showing us 84 volts. That is the maximum charge for a 72 volt battery. It was showing me 86 volts before. That's that extra little bit that you might get after a full charge. Or maybe the display was just calibrating, but we're gonna be at a full charge for a very long time, considering how much battery I have on this bike. Next up, we're gonna head over to the steep grassy hill of doom to get you guys a little off-road test and to see if this bike can do the grassy hill of doom. Even though this is a direct drive motor, I would be surprised if it could do it. We'll find out together. But before we do that, let's head back into the MCHQ and check out the specs and components of this Mini Go. See you guys in a bit. All right, guys, let's take a look at the specs and components of the Goat Power Bike's Mini Goat. Let's go ahead and start at the top. Here we have some rubber round handlebar grips, hydraulic disc brake levers, and these are branded Kurosawa. Say Kurosawa 10 times really fast. And these are labeled to be mineral oil brakes. Up top, we have our hazard light switch, which turns on both blinkers on the front and the rear. Pretty cool safety feature to have if you want to be as visible as possible. Next up, we have our light switch. This is the low beam and high beam switch. Here's low beam and there's high beam. And you can turn both of those off if you want and have, I guess, what you would call daytime running lights. Check these out. Look how cool that looks. This bike also has turn signals. So let's say we switch to the left. You can see an indicator on the display that the left turn signal is on. Check that out. Look at those turn signals. Nice. Those are pretty bright. Here's what the front looks like. And these are flexible, so in case you bump into them, they will not break. And underneath, we do have a small red light, which does illuminate to the ground. You get these two like red circular patterns on each side. Very interesting. Underneath the turn signal switch, you get a horn, which is fairly loud. Since we're talking about lights, let's see what the rear light looks like when you hit the brakes. There it is. Here's what the rear light looks like when it's on, and here's what it looks like when you hit the brakes while it's on. Gets a lot brighter. Moving on, we have a simple minimalist control panel, and here is our display. We're gonna get into that and all the advanced settings in a moment. And it looks like there is a USB-C port at the bottom of the display. Here's the phone mount that I use for all my e-bikes, link in the description. This thing is solid. This bike comes with a key ignition, so if you turn it off, you can take the key out, and now nobody can turn the bike on. This bike is lifeless, so nice little security feature there. Pop it in, turn it on, and the key is locked in place. And now we can hold the power button, and there we go. Goat bikes. And lastly, on the right side, we have a full twist throttle. Moving on down, we have our cable management. Looks pretty good. I could probably clean it up myself with a couple more zip ties. And if you notice, the handlebar is a BMX style high-rise handlebar, but in comparison to the rest of the bike, it's not all that high. I would say this isn't an upright riding position, but it's also not too far forward leaning. It's somewhere in the middle. The fork on this bike is an adjustable dual crown fork. It is an inverted fork like a motorcycle, so the movement is going to happen at the bottom, not at the top. This fork has a lockout and compression adjustment on one side. And it is branded as a trauma fork. I have seen these forks more and more on a bunch of different e-bikes, and I'd say they're pretty good. This bike comes with front and rear metal fenders. And I'm very happy these fenders are solidly mounted onto the bike using these thick metal brackets. Sometimes you get these fenders on these e-bikes and they rattle all over the place, and these are very, very solid. Same thing in the back, super solid. For wheels, we get these 16-inch mag wheels, and I'm really happy they went with mag wheels because for a bike this size, this weight, and something this powerful, bicycle spokes aren't really gonna cut it. So this is gonna give you a maintenance-free, very durable wheel. And the wheel is secured with a through axle, which is extra durable. We know this wheel isn't gonna go anywhere. And for tires, we have this Innova 3.5-inch wide front tire. Looks like there is some chunk on the outside that'll give you some additional grip if you are turning, but primarily I would say these are street tires, not really intended for hardcore off-roading. Maybe the occasional dirt road or gravel road will be okay, but these feel great, very smooth rolling, and they seem to be extra thick as well. Same size wheel in the back, except the tire is 4 inches wide. For brakes, we have massive quad piston calipers in the front, same thing in the rear. The brake rotor in the front is 180 millimeters, and the rear has a larger 203 millimeter rotor. I suspect they did that because there's so much rotating mass in the back that having a larger rotor is going to be advantageous to stop that rotating mass a lot better than a smaller rotor. And even though this is a very heavy bike with 2 batteries, these brakes did perform adequately during my brake test. Let's talk about the frame on this bike. This is a very interesting style frame. I've never seen this frame before. If I were to describe this frame in one word, it would be dense. It is very compact for how much stuff it has on it. You've got the controller back here, the suspension, and the middle is just full of battery. And in my opinion, that is the best setup because when you have a battery, you want it to be in the center and as low as possible. That will give you the best handling dynamics and the best feel on the road when you're riding around the bike. Sometimes batteries are too high or they're high up and in the back, and that causes all sorts of issues like wobble, high center of gravity, which is going to make the bike feel sluggish around the corners. This frame design with the battery placement here makes this bike feel extremely stable around corners. I also like how the branding on this bike isn't overdone. It does have a big Goat Power Bikes cutout on the side, but it's not overbearing. So I appreciate that Goat Power Bikes didn't put big, bright yellow, obnoxious logos on this bike. This bike comes with 4 different battery options: 30 amp hour, 40 amp hour, 50 amp hour, and in combination with any of those batteries, you can also add the top battery, which is a 20 amp hour battery. And of course, all of those batteries are 72 volts. The main battery is gonna sit in here, and it's enclosed with this side panel. You can remove the side panel using these 3 big bolts and this smaller Allen bolt. Let's take a look at the battery and let's remove this panel. And here's what the big battery looks like. Now this is a 50 amp hour battery. This was actually a pretty tight fit to get inside. You do get a rubber spacer right over here to make sure it's pushed down and it stays put. You can see up top there is a carrying handle, and here's the plug for the main battery right over here. charge port lead goes to the outside, to the other side. And here's what the charge port looks like for the main frame battery. For me, once I got this thing inside, there's no way I want to remove it back and forth. So in my opinion, once it's in here, just leave it in here. Be extra careful to not over tighten the 4 bolts, because I'm pretty sure I already stripped the lower left-hand corner one, and I'll have to repair that thread later on. So be extra careful to not over tighten these. Yeah, this one is definitely stripped. I'll have to fix that later with the tap and die kit. That's my bad, I just over tightened it and now we gotta fix it. And with this battery, you get a big old 8 amp charger. This is an actively cooled charger with a fan. Here's what the charging cable looks like at the end of that. And if you get the top battery, you get another 8 amp charger with a QS8 charging connector. So this rail for the secondary top tank battery doesn't have anything connected to these leads right here. This is just to hold the battery in place. The power for discharge and for charging is going to come through the QS8 connector. So this is the discharge cable going to controller, and your charger cable for that battery comes with the same type of connector. So here's the lead that goes to the second battery. This L cable goes all the way down here, and I put my battery blender right under here where the main battery power and the secondary battery power go into the blender, and then it comes out straight into the controller leads. And then right here you've got all the hall sensors and other sensors. And this motor actually has an extra set of sensor wires. I've seen a lot of other motors with that. I'm assuming that's if this fails or something happens to it, you have an extra one. That's just my guess. So to get the top battery on, you just go ahead and line it up. Clicks in place. Double check that it's locked, because sometimes you have to lock this. If it's not in the right position, you'll slide it back and you'll think it's locked, but it's not. Once you're done, take the connector. I know you guys can't see it, but just go ahead and plug this bad boy in, double check it's locked, and you are good to go. The QS8 power cable plugs in right here. If you notice, there's a sign right here saying that this is where the charging and discharging happens. Cool speed. This battery does have an on button. Currently, I pressed it off, so if you look right here, see how there are no lights being shown? But if I turn it on, now the battery's on, and I can see how many battery bars are left. And there's a good look of the label on the top battery, in case you guys are interested. The rear suspension is fully adjustable, and it does feel surprisingly good on this bike. Because there's no rear rack attached to this wheel, there's a lower unsprung weight. So I saw this wheel moving and adapting quickly to the surface, which means you're gonna get lots of consistent grip on this bike and a very comfortable ride. And the shock is labeled Fast Ace Extreme. You've got one adjustment down here. You can switch it from soft, medium to firm. You've got another adjustment on the top, and then you can also tighten this entire spring down depending on the position of this piece right here. Let's move on to the other side. Let's talk about this gigantic motor that's in the back. So this is a direct drive motor. There are no gears in here, and because there's a sine wave controller in here, that's going to give for a very smooth, very quiet operation on the motor. And in case you guys are curious, here is what the controller looks like. Here's where the 3 main phase wires are that run to the motor. Here's your positive and negative battery terminal leads. And here's the label on the controller. As you can see, it is a 57 amp controller, which means that at the nominal 72 volts, you're gonna get a peak power of about 4,100 watts. And at the full charge of a 72 volt battery, which is 84 volts, you're gonna get about 4,800 watts of peak power. Now, I've actually had this bike since March, but Goat Bikes was sending out a better motor, so I can showcase that to you guys. Here's what the old motor looks like. Look at the size difference. And here's what the new motor is like. Check out the size difference on that. So very happy Goat Power Bikes is always upgrading their bikes to make sure they give you guys more durable motors. And if you guys notice, the motor cable on my Mini Goat is orange. And this bike does come with a black sleeve, so you can cover that up. But I kind of think it looks cool. Orange cables are typically used in electric vehicles to signify high voltage. So when you see this orange cable, you know this bike is high voltage and we mean business. And I want to add that myself and Raspy Rides and my buddy Brett over on the High Speed E-Bikes group, and he has his own group. I'll leave a link to that in the description below, and I'll show his group on the screen. Feel free to join that. We are starting a trend, Team Orange Cable. Brett is actually sending me a license plate 3D printed by himself. Check these out. Look how cool these are. Nice. Thanks, Brett. You're the man. Guys, tell Brett to start some kind of an Etsy shop or something like that. I know a lot of people are gonna want stuff like this. We're gonna be taking this one and mounting it somewhere over here. Maybe with 2 little LEDs on it so it's illuminated. So if you guys wanna be cool like us, go ahead and expose your cable. Show it to the world. Make sure everyone can see it. For gearing, you get a single gear in the back, chain tensioner right here. I would say derailleur guard, but there is no derailleur. So this guard is welded on to the torque arm that the right side of this bike uses. And this bike comes with a teeny tiny little chainring with teeny tiny little crank arms. And that is a-okay. You are more than likely never gonna be pedaling this type of bike. And if you did wanna install longer crank arms, I would not recommend it. Due to the height of this bike, it is very low. There's a high probability you're gonna be pedaling and you'll hit the ground, and that's gonna be disastrous if you get a pedal strike while turning at a high speed. In my opinion, these are only here for legal reasons, to make sure this bike actually has functional pedals. Oh, and by the way, this bike is shipped to you with a top speed of 20 miles an hour, but you can unlock it yourself. This kickstand looks extra beefy and extra durable. It is mounted underneath. Looks like it is a very solid mounting. The one downside about this, the pedals will hit, so if you're backing the bike up and the pedal is touching the kickstand, you're gonna be stuck in place. The seat on this bike is very nice looking. It is very aesthetically pleasing. It has these nice ridges and bumps in the top. I would say the comfort is average, maybe above average. The one thing I wish is that it didn't have such firm ridges on the side, because eventually you will feel these after a very, very long ride. A few weeks ago, I did a 50-mile ride out in downtown LA, and I definitely did feel these ridges on the sides of my butt while riding this bike and when I got off the bike. I'm pretty sure Goat Power Bikes did team up with Tapia to sell you guys very comfortable custom seats as well. The minimum seat height of this bike looks to be just about 29 inches. And for the average size rider, that is a normal to lower size. That's gonna be very comfortable, easy to mount. You'll easily be able to reach the ground with your feet. However, if you are a taller rider, you can also buy this 2-inch seat riser to get a little bit more height from the seat. And speaking of accessories, moving on to the back, as you could tell, I have the rear rack installed on this bike. Personally, I think it just looks awesome with that rear rack. It almost looks like a little spoiler on this bike. You can also install this Goat Power Bikes sissy bar. Check that out. And Goat Power Bikes also does sell this big old basket that you can mount on the back if you want to do some food delivery or just have a bunch of storage. And you can also get this handy dandy Goat Power Bikes zip up bag. Looks like it has a waterproof zipper, and that bag will fit right inside the basket that I showed you guys earlier. So this display will show you information about your average speed, trip meter, odometer, pedal assist levels, which you can have 3 levels all the way up to 9 levels if you want. Shows you your voltage, battery bar, battery percentage, and of course the speedometer, and it even shows you how much wattage you're currently using. To get into the advanced settings, you hold the plus and the minus button. There it is. For general settings, you have your LCD backlight. We'll just keep that at level 3. Mile an hour to kilometers an hour, whatever you want. Auto off, this is how long the bike will stay on if you're not using it. Set to 10 minutes. Wheel size, you can adjust to make your speedometer more or less accurate. So if your speedometer compared to GPS speed is a little bit too much or a little bit too low, you can adjust this to make it perfect. Steel number, don't touch that. Boost gear is where you can switch from having 3, 5 to 9 levels of pedal assist. Zero start, this is if the throttle works or not from 0 miles an hour. Boost drive, keep this as is, S and A. I think this determines if you get power with pedals or with the throttle or both. E ABS strength, don't touch that. Starting strength, this is where you can really crank up the fun. I found 0 to be way too weak. 5 is where you get the most acceleration, but in my opinion, this bike having a direct drive motor isn't going to give you the craziest acceleration in the first place. So if you really want to bring it down, I would say don't go any lower than 3. We're going to keep it at 5. Boost magnetic type, don't touch that. Trip reset, odometer reset, error code, light sensitivity. This is the automatic headlight on how sensitive the sensor will be when the automatic headlight turns on or off. Some Bluetooth settings right there. We'll just keep that at 5. Voltage, keep it at 72. Obviously this is a 72 volt bike. Cruise set, I'm not a cruise control guy, but you guys can turn it on if you want. Language settings, there's your Bluetooth setting to connect to the app. Some display info there. Reset factory and then exit. Now to unlock this bike, you go into the speed/password settings and the password is 0000. And here we can increase the speed limit all the way up to its absolute highest level, which is 63. You can change the password if you want here. And then we can exit and exit that as well. To update this bike, you're gonna go ahead and find the BikeGo app. Let's install that. Go ahead and turn your bike on. Go to new bike. Now it's going to ask you to scan a QR code. We'll go into the advanced settings, plus and minus buttons, general, Bluetooth, and just scan this QR code with your phone. There it is, looks like it's connecting. It says discovering new version. The instrument has discovered a new version that can be upgraded. Hit upgrade. There we go, so there it is. We're gonna download it, press update. And there it is, looks like the display turned off. And now it is updating. We restarted. And now we are good to go, fully updated. If we press connect, oh, there's another update. I saw there were some updates, so I just did all of them. And then let's hit connect. All right. Doesn't show us there are any more updates. That's good. Looks like on this app you can see your battery bar. We could see our odometer as well. This is a light button that does not work. Usually for e-bikes you hold the plus button and it will turn the headlights on. However, this bike has its own dedicated light switch, so that's not going to do anything. And it just shows you your cycling time, average speed, max speed. I did not go 84 miles an hour. That is just the free spinning speed of the wheel when it's not on the ground. And if you press go, you can do a little bit of navigation. I don't know why it started me off in Ghana. In the advanced settings, you can change the bike logo. You can turn the screen brightness up. Let's do that. Bluetooth unlock level. I'm not sure what that is. I think that has something to do with the Bluetooth signal. Speed unit, and you can change your pedal assist level. Obviously, you can do all of that in the display settings as well. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the review ride of the Minigo. We are currently on the way to the grassy field where we have the grassy Hill of Doom. We're gonna do a quick and dirty off-road test on this bike and test it out on that steep, bumpy hill and see if this bike can climb it. Right now we're sitting in traffic, so this is gonna give us a good idea of what this bike feels like in traffic. My area of Connecticut has no bike lanes and very small shoulders on the road, so having a bike that can keep up with traffic is tremendously advantageous, and some might say even safer than having a slower Class 3 or less e-bike. And as you can tell right now, we are doing A-OK, going about 40 miles an hour behind these cars. All right, we have arrived. So far, going down that short area of bumpy terrain has been pretty good. This bike might be a little mini off-roader. Let's get our drone out so so it can follow me around. All right, so we're on this bumpy terrain right now, bringing it down to pedal assist 1, which gives us a little bit less starting strength and a top speed of 20 miles an hour, at least with 3 pedal assist levels. And right now the suspension is actually doing a great job absorbing the bumps. Because of the smaller wheels, it's not gonna feel as smooth rolling over obstacles as those big fat tire e-bikes or even 20-inch wheels. But for what this bike is, it's actually not that bad. Not too terrible, guys. I wouldn't want to do this. I would want to keep this thing on the streets, but if I absolutely had to cross a field or gravel road to continue on with my street riding, this thing could do it. All right, so we'll start at the base. I don't know if this is gonna do it. Level 3, throttle only, 3, 2, 1, go. Yeah, no dice. Sorry, guys. What if I get some speed going? My drone lost me. And it's gone. Hello?
Positioning failure.
Yeah.
Emergency return.
All right, let's get some speed going and see how this bike does. All right, here we go. Get some speed. Oh, yeah. We made it, guys. So with a little bit of speed, maybe some pedaling at the top, we were able to do just fine. And that is the one downside of a direct drive motor with a moderate amount of current flowing through it. I'm sure a lot of you guys that watch this channel know if you throw enough current into a direct drive motor, it will have all the torque you need. From there, you just have to worry about overheating. Hopefully your motor can handle it. But typically, direct drive motors do not have as much low-end torque as geared hub motors. So this bike is going to be best suited for high speeds, mostly flat roads. And a lot of them because, again, the battery size that you get on this bike, even the 30 amp hour battery, if you multiply that by 72, that'll give you a lot of watt hours, way more than most other e-bikes in this price range. Moving on. Right now I've done 9.5 miles of pretty hard riding and we're still at 100% battery. Voltage is showing us 84 volts, so still pretty much 100% even according to the voltage. If you need a bike to just have insane range and you're interested in keeping the bike on the roads, this might be a great option. And even if the roads are hilly, so long as you're already rolling, maybe at least 5 to 10 miles an hour, you will do just fine. As you guys saw, this bike crushed the steep hill climb test with ease. And look at this, going down this road. Oh my God, that is fast. Woo! Yikes. Oh, this is so nice though. They just paved this road on my area. Oh, this is a treat. So if you're gonna be on terrain like this, mostly flat, some hills, expect to go anywhere between 35 to 45 miles an hour of just cruising around. This is nice. And by the way, the temperature today is about 95 degrees, but I don't think we're pushing this motor anywhere close to its limits. Honestly, I think it can handle more power. Hint, hint, wink, wink. Let's do another hill climb with this bike. I want to show you guys what I mean by the type of torque that you can expect from this bike. So we're going to climb this long and moderately steep hill, throttle only. You guys will see in a moment just how long and steep it is, and we'll see how it does. Most bikes do not do very well on this hill, but because this has so much current and so much wattage going into the motor, even though it is a direct drive motor, as you guys are noticing, it is doing just fine. We're flying up this hill almost 30 miles an hour. Look at that, no sweat. And we're already accelerating as we crest over. And then when it flattens out, you gotta really pick up the speed. Thankfully those brakes work well. God, I love this freshly paved road. What a treat. Since you do have that extra power with the free spinning wheel going well up to 80 miles an hour, which is insane, you will go extra fast downhill. Even down a slight hill, you will get lots and lots of speed. Normally geared hub motors will cut you off abruptly at a certain speed, and then wind resistance just keeps you at that speed. But since this bike still gives us power well over 50 miles an hour, we can cruise very quickly down this hill. Let's do another quick and dirty off-road test on the sidewalk of doom. That rear suspension, guys, there's a lot of travel in that shock. I am very impressed right now at how well that rear suspension is performing. Wow, this is great. So if you do encounter some bumps in your paved adventures, this bike is going to handle it just fine. Wow, I'm actually impressed. Let's talk about the pedal assist levels on this bike. So I currently have my bike set to 3 levels of pedal assist. Level 3 gives you that top speed of 47 plus miles an hour. Level 1 gives you a top speed of 20 miles an hour. Oh, and you can adjust all of that. If you want to keep this under the legal speed limit of 20, you can adjust that setting in the settings. But let's see what level 2 gives us. Pedal assist level 2, top speed. Looks like we're getting just about 26, 27 miles an hour. So let's say level 1 gives you 20, level 2 gives you the legal top speed of class 3 speed, and level 3 is everything. It gives you all the beans. And that's with 3 levels of pedal assist. If you did increase that to 9, what I think that'll do is just give you more incremental adjustments between all of those speed levels. If you guys notice, I did not pedal during that pedal assist level test because the pedals on this bike are like little pedals that you'd see on a clown bike. The cranks are comically short, which is actually fine considering how low the cranks are to the ground. If they were longer, you would just scrape the hell out of them. But in my opinion, these pedals are really here just to have something, just to show the world that this still is an e-bike. It has pedals, and they do also function through pedal assist. I am getting power right now through my pedals, and it looks like the ghost pedaling is pretty much after 10 miles an hour, you're ghost pedaling. The seat comfort on this bike is average, maybe above average. It is a nice squishy bench seat. It's not the widest bench seat, and it does have some sharper corners on the edges that you do feel, and I did feel when I was riding around with the boys out in LA. I did feel that. We did a giant 50-mile ride, and my butt does remember what that seat feels like. But it's pretty good. It's not too bad. I think GOAT also does sell a more premium custom Tapia seat. If you guys threw that on this bike, you will likely experience extreme luxurious comfort throughout your entire long-range trip that this bike can offer you. And if you were to bring this bike on a trail, not only do you have the pedals, so you can convince everyone, hey, this is still technically an e-bike, it is a very, very quiet bike. The motor noise on this direct drive motor with the sine wave controller is non-existent. When you are on this bike, all you hear is the freewheel in the back clicking away and wind rushing by. That's it. You barely even hear the motor, and that's only at lower speeds. So if you wanted an e-bike to be extra sneaky on the trails, this might be a good option. The seating position on this bike, it's a blend between forward leaning and upright. Even though these handlebars are taller from where they start, they're not all that high compared to the seat height. So I am leaning forwards just a bit. That will give you a little bit more of a controlled feeling in your handlebars, but it's not going to be as comfortable as a more upright seating position. I want to fly down this road and see what kind of speeds we get. This is a long road, and they just paved it. I am so happy. It doesn't have too many steep climbs. I would say if you have roads like this in your area, these roads are going to be perfect for a bike like this. Can we sneak by all these cars? Yes, we can. At least we snuck by the truck. See what I mean by not having any shoulders on this road? There's nothing. So being able to have a bike that keeps up with moderately fast traffic is hugely important in my area. All right, looks like this guy's got some pep in his step. Now we can open her up, see how this bike does. Oh, we just crossed into 98% battery. We're at 16.95 miles. Wow, here we go. I feel like I'm on a roller coaster. Look at that. Just hanging out at 47 miles an hour. Let's see what kind of speeds we sustain on this road. And this bike does feel pretty stable too. Being low to the ground, pretty good stability. Look at this, we're just hanging out 45 miles an hour, just cruising. All right, we got some hills coming up. Let's see how much speed we lose. Not much, 40, 39, we're still going pretty quick. There we go, here's a pretty steep hill. This is a good test. High speed hill test. 37, 34, holding 34. Not bad at all. Yeah, we're back up to 40. Another steep hill coming up. 35. Not too bad, ladies and gentlemen. Let's keep going. Oh, we got a big old slow truck up there. I think we'll probably turn around. Oh, nice Lambo. 36. Let's see what I mean by hanging out with faster moving traffic. no problem. And this thing is whisper quiet. All I hear is wind. If you wanted a long-range commuting bike, this might be a very, very good option, especially with the rear rack. And as you guys saw, there are a bunch of accessories you can get, like a big old basket, a big bag. You could put a bunch of cargo on this bike and just go about your day. Let's turn it around right over here. We're gonna turn it around. There we go. Headed on back. I think that Mercedes had the same idea. They were sick and tired of being behind that truck. And we are right back up to 40 miles an hour. I do wish I had a mirror right here. Typically when I'm on a bike that's always gonna be on the road, I love having a mirror just because you wanna see what's behind you without having to turn your head around like that. Holding 44, 45, holding 45, just zipping around this corner. Nice. And this bike is, again, perfect for a street like this because cars travel around 50 miles an hour on this road. What a treat. This is great. Look at this. 49, 50, 51. What? 52? Oh, we gotta slow down. All right, see what I mean by going downhill? You will pick up speed very, very quickly. My personal cutoff for electric bicycle speeds is between 50 to 60 miles an hour. I do not like going faster than that with bicycle components. Look at this. This is great. Oh, baby. I hear those brakes working. They work well. Oh, man, this thing rips. Holy crap. 50, 51, 53. Now we're going down. Look at this. Wow. Oh, this is exhilarating. I feel like I'm drafting this SUV up here. Oh, yeah. Woo! Oh, that was awesome. That did kill a little bit of battery. We're at 80 volts now, 90%. That's okay. We got plenty of battery, folks. All right. That was fun. Just pulled over for a quick second. Let's see what the motor temperature is like after ripping it down that road. Oh, yeah. Oh, it's hot. Oh, yeah, that is a hot puppy. And if you do want to get the most up-to-date price for this bike, check out the link in the description below, or just scan the QR code on the screen with your phone. Using my code MAX10 will save you almost $150, which again, if you guys do the research, look at the competitors, feel free to do your comparisons. You will quickly realize just how much bike you're getting for that price. And I did want to give a huge shout out to the people using my links. You guys really help support these reviews. Thank you so much for not only being a subscriber, but also a supporter. So let me know what you guys think of this Goat Power Bikes Mini Goat. Leave a comment below. I am very curious to hear what you guys think because this is a very unique e-bike, if you can call it that. It's got a lot of power, a lot of battery, very low center of gravity, good for carving up the roads. It's a very interesting bike. Let me know what you think in the comments. I will be posting more content on this bike in my Facebook group, High Speed E-Bikes 40 miles an hour and up. And I also have another Facebook group, E-Bike Addicts. Feel free to check those out in the description below. You can also follow me on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and I have a Twitter account that I never use, but feel free to follow me there as well. I can just do this all day. This thing is so fun just to zigzag around it. And if I have earned your subscription, please feel free to subscribe to the channel and make sure you smash the like button and notification bell as hard as you can so you don't miss any future content. That is it for today, folks. Until next time.